in field 10 versus field 20 on the right. And 20 was subsoiled to deal with compaction.
Yeah. Subsoiled and irrigated.
This year you irrigated or last year?
This year. And last year. Both years. So that would make a big difference with the moisture. Which would make, I think the nematodes like the moisture.
They travel in water films.
Yes.
And they go between the pore spaces, and they need water in those pore spaces to get around.
Now, what happens when they dry out like we have right now?
They could go dormant. They can also try to migrate. It's kind of like if you imagine your compost pile, when there are areas in the compost that are too dry, they will migrate to places that have more moisture. I didn't see any. I wasn't looking for it, so maybe I didn't. If I'm not looking for something, that I may not just notice. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out for them. They'll come back. They'll be back for sure. And you have them in your compost.
Yeah. But if they die every summer, that's pretty tough, isn't it?
Well, this is where we start to. They wouldn't die every summer. Well, we will want the soil conditions to improve over time. So the more you improve the soil conditions, the more they will thrive in the soil. We'll just have to increase the pore spaces or deal with compaction.
Like our sprayer is only 10 feet wide, right? So the tires are 2 feet wide. So 80%, we're compacting 20% every time we spray. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better to put it out with the gun with the go 90 feet wide and only have one set of tires on 90 feet. And then, and then maybe even attempt to run on the same lines.
What do you mean, attempt to run on the same line?
Well, keep compacting this one road, one track. And then because with spraying, you're all over the field. So if we sprayed it
from just one area.
Yeah, I'm thinking that would help the compaction significantly.
You did for the boron, the soil chemistry came back as medium this year, but the plant is still well below the desired range. So the soil has it, right? The soil has the boron now, but the plant's not taking it up. But then again, this is red clover.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not sure how A&L or how a lot of these labs determine how much nutrients plants require, especially when legume, clover versus a grain. Right? Yeah. Are they going to be pulling up the same amount of nutrients? I don't know. They have ranges 30 to 80. I mean, if you look at aluminum, 1 to 300, that's a huge range, right? And that's what I don't know how they determine these numbers. Comparison between the two, the blue rows, they just indicate that it's where the tests match. Everything else didn't match, right? So magnesium, the soil was very low, but the plant pulled up what it needed.
Yeah.
Boron, again, the soil was medium level, but the plant didn't pull up what it needed. And it could also be dependent on which part of the plant you've shipped out to A&L, right? Because that nutrient is going to be diluted in the plant's body as it grows bigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when it starts to grow, when it has the older leaves and then it starts to grow the new leaves, then some of those nutrients will be distributed up and will be used to form the top leaves, right? So it can be diluted over time. So that's another variable that that needs to be considered.
It doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
But I think the more consistent you are when it comes to when you take the tests and which part of the plant body you're taking it from and which plant you're taking it from. Okay. And one thing that I also wanted to talk to you about, your compost. I don't know if you had the chance to go through the report that I sent about the August compost.
Yes.
But this compost exceeded, it took a while for it to get to that level of ratio. So Christmas compost analyzed in March of this year and August. You can see the difference. This is the fungal to bacterial ratio. So Christmas, I think you sent it in March, 3 months after. The fungal population was virtually, it's non-existent. But when you look at letting the compost mature, okay, this is bacteria, letting the compost mature over time, huge difference.
Yes.
Right? That's like 8 months though, right?
Yeah. It just takes that time, doesn't it?
It just, because it's such a rich in bacteria, right? It's so manure heavy that the fungi just can't compete with all that bacteria. That doesn't mean that it's not useful in the spring. In fact, it's very useful because you have a lot of free living nematodes in that compost as well in the spring. But as far as fungal biomass goes, it's nice because it almost corresponds with the season too, right? You have the fungal population, they start to come up in August, September, and then they'll most likely, you apply your compost around this time, September, October, and then weather starts to go, cooler. And that's when the fungal population really starts to come up, is when the cooler weather happens, right? So it's nice because the compost almost matches the season, if that makes any sense.
No, it's good. Okay. Yep. Bring up the rocks to the surface so we can pick them.
Right.
And then just no-till grass in it.
Okay, so the same grass mix as 20?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not going to plow or cultivate it?
We won't plow it. Well, I don't think we'll plow that one. We can't plow it now. Yeah.
Super dry.
We'll give it a shot to no-till it. And we'll give it, if we can level it off a little bit, knock down the ridges and pick up the rocks, I think that's what we'll do.
Okay. Do you have a machine to pick up the rocks, or are you just going to do it all by hand?
By hand. Oh,
okay.
It's not that big a deal.
Right. Get some elementary school kids to help you with that.
All over
70.
Yeah.